Cloud with rain. He was used to closing billion-dollar deals, walking red carpets, and living above the clouds in a penthouse suite where everything gleamed glass, silver, and pride. But that day, Lucas Braden, tech mogul and media-silent billionaire, ordered his driver to take an abrupt turn into one of the darkest alleys of Eastbrook, a forgotten corner of the city most people pretended didn't exist. Why? Because of one old photo. One haunting image that made him whisper the unthinkable. "I think the beggar in this photo is my father." Welcome to Storytelling and Beyond, your home for emotional, twist-filled stories where love, pain, and redemption collide. Subscribe now to never miss a tale that speaks straight to the heart. The black Bentley stopped with a low hum, tires pressing into the cracked pavement. The driver, suited and nervous, turned to glance at Lucas. "Sir, are you sure you want to get out here?" Lucas didn't answer right away. His eyes were fixed beyond the window. On the alleyway that reeked of damp cardboard, broken dreams, and silence. He stepped out. Shoes polished, suit tailored to perfection, watch ticking with precision, he looked like he belonged on Wall Street, not here. But something inside him didn't belong anywhere. He held a folded photograph in one hand. Faded edges, a crease down the middle. A picture of his mother, Marjorie Braden, smiling gently, holding a chubby toddler on her hip. Behind her, barely visible, a man with soft eyes and grease-streaked hands stood beside a pickup truck. Lucas had studied the photo 1,000 times, but never noticed the man until a week ago, until someone from an outreach program sent him a blurry street photo of a bearded beggar behind a soup kitchen. And something clicked. The eyes. The shape of the nose. The tilt of the jaw. Could it be him? Lucas walked deeper into the alley. Rats scurried beneath the trash bins. A loose shopping cart lay on its side like a broken skeleton. Then he saw him. The man sat hunched beside a rusted dumpster, wrapped in 2 layers of flannel and a torn army coat. A paper cup sat beside his foot. His beard was white, face sunken, but those eyes tired, yes, but not lifeless. Lucas's heart pounded. He stepped closer. "Sir." The man didn't react at first. Lucas crouched down, ignoring the cold seeping through his trousers. "Sir, can I ask you something?" A grunt. A blink. The beggar's eyes turned slowly toward him. Lucas pulled the photo from his coat and unfolded it. He held it gently, almost reverently. Do you know this woman?" The man looked at it, squinting. At first, nothing. Then a shiver rippled through his shoulders. He reached out slowly, fingertips hovering over the image like it might burn him. His lips parted. "Marjorie," he whispered. Lucas's breath caught. "You remember her?" "Marjorie Braden. Sweetest smile, used to call me Sam the Fixer." Lucas sat down on the cold curb, stunned. "Then you are Samuel Knox?" Samuel blinked rapidly, like shaking dust off old memories. "That was my name, once." Lucas stared at him. "She was my mother." Silence. Then Samuel looked up sharply. "I was her Lucas," he whispered. Lucas nodded. "Yes. And you're my father?" Samuel's hand covered his mouth. His entire body seemed to deflate as his eyes welled with tears. I thought I'd never hear that again. I thought I was long erased." Lucas was silent, emotions warring inside him. "She died thinking you abandoned her," he said, the words sharp, painful. "We never knew what happened to you." Samuel leaned his head back against the wall. "I was coming back. I swear. I just needed time, made mistakes, ended up lost." Lucas's voice shook. "And now, I find you here, like this?" Samuel laughed bitterly. "Funny world, huh? My son owns towers. I sleep behind trash." Lucas stood, unsure what to say. The man who had haunted his questions, his mother's sadness, his silence, was sitting before him, broken but real. "I didn't come here to judge you," he finally said. "I just had to know, if you were real. Samuel lowered his head. Too real. And too late. Lucas looked at him again, long and deep. That's not for you to decide. Then he did something that shocked both of them. He held out his hand. Come with me. Samuel looked at it like it was gold. Like it was light. Then, slowly, trembling, he took it. Their hands clasped, not perfectly, not proudly, but with something far more powerful. Recognition. And the first, unsteady step toward a story neither of them could have written alone. The small apartment smelled of fresh linen and lemon polish. It wasn't extravagant, just 2 rooms and a modest kitchen, but it was light years away from the alley Samuel Knox had called home. He sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the unfamiliar comforter like it might vanish if he blinked. Across from him, Lucas stood near the window, hands in his pockets. His tie was loosened, his expression unreadable. Silence stretched between them, heavy and uncertain. Samuel broke it. I thought you'd bring me to some hotel. Maybe a halfway house. Not this. His voice was raw, like it hadn't been used in years. Lucas turned, his gaze calm but distant. This apartment belongs to the Braden Foundation. It's one of 5 we keep for emergency outreach cases. You're not a case. But I figured, maybe we both needed a place that wasn't loaded with ghosts. Samuel chuckled softly, bitter and sad. Ghosts don't bother me. It's the mirrors I can't stand. Lucas didn't reply. Instead, he sat down across from him and placed a worn manila envelope on the coffee table between them. I brought some things you might want to see. Or maybe not. Your call. Samuel hesitated, then reached for the envelope. Inside were photos, decades worth of memories he'd never lived. Lucas as a toddler, grinning with cake on his face. Lucas at age 10, holding a soccer trophy. Lucas standing with his mother, arms around each other, in front of a Christmas tree. Samuel flipped through them slowly, eyes glassy. She kept all this? She kept everything, Lucas replied. She told me once that every birthday she imagined you walking through the door. She always made an extra plate. Samuel set the photos down and leaned back, overwhelmed. I was going to come back. I swear to you. I never meant to disappear. Then why did you? Lucas asked, his voice sharper than he intended. Why leave? Why not write? Call? Anything? Samuel exhaled shakily. I was stupid. I thought I'd make money, return as a man with pride. But everything went wrong. I got robbed the second week I left. Had no ID, no cash, no job. I slept in bus stations. Then under bridges. And every day that passed made it harder to go back. I thought she'd moved on. I thought you'd hate me. Lucas looked down. I did. For a while. Then I stopped feeling anything at all. The air grew thick with the weight of truth. I used to imagine my father was a hero, Lucas said quietly. When I was little, I made up stories. That you were a soldier overseas. Or trapped somewhere. Or dead. Because at least that made sense. Samuel's shoulders slumped. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even expect understanding. But I swear I never stopped thinking about you. Both of you. Lucas walked to a nearby shelf and pulled out a small music box. She left this to me in her will. Said it belonged to you once. He handed it to Samuel, who opened it with trembling hands. A soft melody floated into the room, faint and familiar. Samuel closed his eyes. She used to play this every Sunday morning, he murmured. Said it reminded her of hope. Lucas sat beside him again. She never stopped believing you'd come back. Even when I did. Silence returned, but now it was gentler, less punishing. After a while, Lucas spoke again. I've arranged a medical screening for you tomorrow. Not mandatory. But you've been out there a long time, and I want to make sure you're okay." Samuel nodded slowly. "That's kind of you." "This isn't about kindness," Lucas said, standing. "It's about closure. For both of us." Samuel rose too, still clutching the music box. "What if I want more than closure?" he asked, voice tentative. Lucas turned, pausing by the door. "Then you'd better be ready for the truth. Because I don't do fantasy. Not even for family." Samuel gave a half smile. "Maybe the truth is what I've been running from." Lucas opened the door, then glanced back. "Get some rest. Tomorrow starts early." As the door shut, Samuel stood alone in the quiet room, holding the only piece of his past that hadn't left him. He looked around, at the bed, the photos, the soft light spilling across the carpet, and whispered to no one. "I don't know how to be a father, but I'll learn." And in that small apartment, something began to shift. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But possibility. And for two men who'd spent their lives with walls around their hearts, that was enough for now. Lucas sat in silence as the sleek town car pulled through the tall iron gates of the Braden Private Medical Institute. It was late, nearly midnight, but he didn't want an audience. No journalists. No curious staff. Just answers. In the back seat, Samuel Knox sat with his shoulders hunched, hands fidgeting with the seams of his freshly washed coat. His hair had been trimmed, his beard shaped, and a nurse had managed to scrub the grime from his nails. But nothing could scrub away the shame in his eyes. They hadn't spoken much since the alley. Lucas had arranged for a quiet hotel room, a full checkup, and food, lots of it. Samuel had eaten everything with the timid desperation of someone unsure if the next meal would come. That alone had told Lucas more than any story could. Now, here they were awaiting DNA confirmation. They entered through the private elevator, bypassing the polished lobbies and waiting rooms. Lucas's lead physician greeted them quietly, then handed Lucas a folder and left without a word. Lucas didn't open it immediately. He turned to Samuel, who sat staring at a painting on the wall, an abstract burst of gold and indigo. Something chaotic and beautiful. "You recognize it?" Lucas asked. Samuel nodded faintly. "Your mother, she used to paint when she couldn't sleep. That's her style." Lucas's jaw clenched. "You really knew her?" Samuel gave a small smile. "I didn't just know her. I loved her. More than I thought I could love anyone. She believed in me, when even I didn't." Lucas opened the folder. A moment of silence passed. He inhaled slowly. "It's a 99.98% match." Samuel turned slowly toward him. "So it's true." "You're my biological father," Lucas confirmed. His voice was calm, but inside, a tide was crashing. "No more doubts." Samuel nodded, then dropped his gaze. "I don't expect anything, son. I don't want money or favors. He paused. "I just wanted to know I didn't lose everything." Lucas stared at the paper in his hand, then at the man beside him. "My mother used to sit by the window every Sunday evening," Lucas said quietly. "She'd make 2 cups of tea, set one across from her, and wait." Samuel's lips trembled. "She never told me why. Not until I was 16. She said it was for you, just in case you ever came back." Tears welled in Samuel's eyes. "She waited?" "4 years." Lucas stood and walked to the window. The city below glittered, silent and unaware. "I built all this because I wanted to give her the life she deserved. And after she passed, I buried the rest. The pain. The questions. I filled the silence with ambition." Samuel slowly rose. "You did more than I ever could have imagined." "But I couldn't answer one question," Lucas said, turning. "Why didn't you come back?" Samuel hesitated. "Shame. Fear. I wanted to. I really did. But when I lost everything, I thought, maybe they were better off without me. That if I reappeared, all I'd bring was burden. Lucas was quiet. Then, you were wrong. Samuel blinked. She never stopped missing you. And I never stopped needing to know who I came from. The room felt thick with things unsaid. Then Lucas walked over, handed Samuel the folder. Come back with me. Not to live under a microscope, but to rebuild, whatever this is. I don't deserve that, Samuel whispered. Lucas stared at him. Maybe not. But I deserve the chance to decide. Samuel looked down at the results again. His hand trembled. I don't know how to be part of this world, Lucas. Lucas smiled faintly. Then let's build a new one. Together. For the first time since they met, Samuel stood tall, not straight, not confident, but taller than before. Straighter. Like a man slowly remembering how to carry his own name again. And outside, the night remained quiet. But inside the walls of that clinic, something undeniable had happened. A man who thought he was forgotten was being written back into a story he'd abandoned long ago. And a son who had everything finally began to reclaim what he didn't know he'd lost. The crowd inside the Harmony Civic Center was unlike any that had ever gathered for a Braden Foundation event. There were no champagne flutes, no sharp tuxedos or stilettos, no influencers or corporate bigwigs clutching plaques for photo ops. Instead, there were men and women in worn coats. Veterans with walkers. Ex-laborers with weathered hands. Social workers. Teachers. Mechanics. Survivors. And seated in the front row, quiet, clean-shaven, and dressed in a simple navy blue jacket, sat Samuel Knox, holding a program titled Second Chances Initiative, in honor of Samuel Knox. Lucas stepped onto the stage to modest applause. But it wasn't the kind he usually received. This applause carried weight, understanding. Realness. People weren't clapping for a billionaire. They were clapping for a man who had dared to say the most vulnerable words in front of the world. This is my father. And I nearly lost him before I even knew who he was. He looked down from the podium, locking eyes with Samuel, who, for the first time since they'd reunited, looked proud. Lucas's voice rang out, steady but full of something deeper than charisma. Ladies and gentlemen, when I was a child, I believed my father had abandoned us. My mother, Marjorie Braden, raised me with unshakable love, but I grew up carrying a hole in my story. A blank page I never dared to fill. The audience was still. Years passed. I made a name. Built towers. I thought legacy meant influence. Control. Power. Lucas paused. But then, on a winter afternoon, I went down an alley and found a man who reminded me of someone in an old photograph. A man who had lost everything, but still had eyes full of pain and memory. He took a breath. That man turned out to be my father. A soft gasp rippled through the audience. Some knew. Most didn't. I don't share this for sympathy or drama. I share it because some people spend their entire lives believing they are forgotten. That they are too broken to be brought home again. But I've learned that even those buried by time, grief, or shame can rise again if someone reaches out a hand. Lucas turned to gesture toward Samuel, who stood slowly to a standing ovation that shook the floor. Samuel's voice was rough as he took the mic. I thought my name had died in the gutters. I lived decades thinking I had nothing left to give. But my son, he gave me a chance to rewrite my ending. To be seen again. A woman in the audience wiped her eyes. A man clapped his hand on his chest. Samuel continued, you don't need a perfect past to earn a place in the future. Sometimes, all you need is a second chance, and someone who believes in you. When the applause died down, Lucas made the final announcement. Starting today, the Second Chances Initiative will fund rehabilitation programs, job training, and transitional housing for homeless individuals, especially those estranged from their families. Not in their name, but with them. He stepped beside Samuel. Their hands clasped, not staged, but real. As the event ended, guests began lining up, not for autographs, but to thank Samuel. "You remind me of my dad," whispered one young man. "I haven't spoken to my son in 10 years, said an elderly woman. "But maybe now I will." That evening, Lucas and Samuel stood alone at the top of the center's glass atrium, looking down at the city bathed in amber light. "I never thought I'd be standing here beside you," Samuel said quietly. Lucas smiled. "Funny. I never thought I'd be kneeling beside a dumpster, asking if you knew my mother." They laughed, soft and tired. Samuel looked over. "Do you forgive me?" Lucas turned to him, voice steady. "I do. And more than that. I'm glad I found you while I still could." They stood in silence for a long moment. Then Lucas said, "Let's go home." And this time, Samuel followed, not like a stranger being rescued, but like a father finally reclaiming his place at his son's side. Storytelling and beyond. Speech balloon. If this story moved you, leave a comment with your favorite moment. Bell subscribe now for more unforgettable stories where hope finds a way home. Thumbs up, like, share and inspire someone who may need a second chance.